Good morning. I am Dr. Wilson Pearl, Associate Professor, Department of Corporate Secretaryship of KCS Kasnada College of Arts and Science. Now, we are going to see underwriting of shares and debentures. Now, let us see what is the definition of underwriting. According to ICSI, underwriting may be defined as a contract entered into by the company with the persons or institutions called underwriter who undertake to take up the whole or portion of such offered shares or debentures as may not be subscribed by the public in consideration for remuneration called underwriting commission. So this is all about the underwriting. Okay. Now what is the purpose of underwriting? For starting a company, the company may issue shares to the public. At the time of issuing shares to the public, the minimum subscription should be attained by the company. If the minimum subscription is not obtained, the company has to be closed down by repaying the money which is collected from the public to the public within 120 days from the date of issue. To avoid such problems, the company will go with the help of the underwriter to get that minimum subscription. Okay. The expenditure and the time spent where the issue was will not be wasted. The company's goodwill also will not suffer tremendously. Okay. The underwriting acts as a sort of insurance or guarantee against the danger of not receiving the minimum subscription. The basic purpose of underwriting is to guard the domicile sword of minimum subscription, which is not less than 90% of the issue value. Okay. Now we'll go to the next one. Next slide. Now, what are the different types of underwriting? There are two types of underwriting: pure underwriting, firm underwriting. The pure underwriting consists of two types: complete underwriting and the complete and partial underwriting. Okay. Now, the complete underwriting has two types. When the issue is underwritten by single underwriter. The second one, the issue is underwritten by more than two underwriters. Okay. Then, the same way the partial underwriting. When the issue is underwritten by only one underwriter, and when the issue is underwritten by more than two underwriters. Okay. Then the firm underwriting. The firm underwriting is nothing but the underwriter should take for his own subscription some of the shares which is issued by the company, which means he has to take it for his own purpose. Even though the public applied for shares, there's some liability for him to take for his own purpose, definitely. Okay. Now, when there are oversubscription also, underwriter gets priority over the general public for the shares or debentures returned to them. Okay. When the firm underwriting can be on two types. When the firm underwriting is treated as marked application, when the firm underwriting is treated as unmarked application. Okay. Now, now let us see what is marked application, what is the unmarked application. The marked application is nothing but the seal that is bearing by the name of the underwriter. The company's application bearing the seal of underwriter is called marked application. The company's application without the seal of the underwriter is called unmarked application. Okay, any doubt? Now we'll go to the next slide. Now let us see the format of complete underwriting first. Number of shares issued by the public to the public, number of shares subscribed minus, and the remainder will be the net liability of underwriter when there is only one underwriter. Okay, if there is more than one underwriter, the following format will be followed. Let us take an assumption there are three underwriters. They underwrite for the complete underwriting. The format is given there. First, we will take the gross liability of underwriters minus the marked application received from them, and after minusing, if there is any negative balance, we take it as a surplus and we share them to the A and B, the remaining portion, remaining underwriters in the gross liability ratio. Okay, after sharing the surplus, then comes the unmarked application that will be shared with the between A and B in the gross liability ratio. So the remainder ultimately after all these deductions will be called as net liability of underwriters. Okay, now we'll go to the next slide. Now let us see a sum with complete underwriting done by only one underwriter. Now I'll read the sum now. The KKR Limited issued 1,20,000 preference shares of ₹10 each. The whole issue was underwritten by the Malan for maximum commission permitted by the law. The application was for 1 lakh shares were received in all. Actually, the company has issued 1,20,000 shares. The public applied for 1 lakh shares. Okay, determine the net liability of underwriter. So we'll start now. Statement showing the net liability of underwriters. First, gross liability. The whole issue is 1,20,000. The whole issue is given as a guarantee by the underwriter. Therefore, we take that as a gross liability. Okay. Only then we call it as a complete underwriting, a pure underwriting, the whole underwriting. Okay. Now, gross liability is 1,20,000 minus your total application received from the public 1 lakh. The remainder is 20,000. That will be your net liability of underwriter. If there is only one underwriter, this is a simple way to calculate a net liability of underwriters. Now, we'll go to the next sum. Let us see if there is more than one underwriter. What happens to the calculation now? Now, the Kalyana Kumar company was formed with a capital of 10 lakh rupees of 10 each. Which means how many shares will be there then? 10 lakh divided by 10 will give me 1 lakh. So therefore 1 lakh shares are there. The whole issue has been issued to the public. The underwriter of these shares were as follows. How many underwriters are there? A, B, C, D, E, F. So there are, how many underwriters are there? 6 underwriters are there. Okay. The issue is only for 1 lakh. Of this 1 lakh is shared between A, B, C, D, E and F in the ratio which is given there here. A takes 35,000 shares, A agrees to take 35,000 shares, B agrees to take 30,000 shares, C agrees to take 20,000 shares, and D agrees to take 10,000 shares, E agrees to take 3,000 shares, F agrees to take 2,000 shares. Okay. Now, all the marked applications were to go in relief of the underwriter whose stamp they bear. The application form marked by the underwriter are A is 10,000, B is 22,500 shares, C 20,000 shares, D 7,500 shares, E 5,000 shares, and F nil, which means F did not receive any shares in his name. Okay, out of the company received shares, F did not receive, F stamped shares were not received. Okay, that is the logic. The application for 20,000 shares were received on the form not marked. What do you mean by the not marked is nothing but unmarked. Okay, which means this 20,000 shares is not sold by any of the underwriters who is named above. Okay, which means it is sold by general, it is sold at the own interest of the company. Okay, now let us see how the answers done in the next sheet. Now, first I'll write the gross liability A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, the gross liability is written there. Then I'll minus the marked application, which is application received in the with the stamp bearing A, B, C, D, and E and F. Okay, then the surplus. If I get any negative balance, look here in this particular sum, there is a negative balance of 2,000 shares. Okay, for F, and C doesn't have any negative balance or doesn't have any positive balance, which means C's balance is nil and E is having a negative balance. So this E's negative balance is called a surplus. This surplus will be shared between the remaining underwriters. Who are the remaining underwriters here? A, B, D and F, not C and E, because C is nil and E have a surplus. Okay, so these two will not share the surplus, though, which means the others will share the surplus. Who are they who is going to share the surplus here? A, B, D and F. What is the ratio here for them? 35. So if I'm going to remove all the 3 zeros from each and every one, okay, 35 is to 30, and I'm not going to take for C, then D is 10, and then I'm not going to take for E, then F is 2. So what will be the ratio now? 35 is to 30 is to 10 is to 2. So that is the gross liability ratio for sharing the surplus of 2,000. So when I take this 2000 and divide them in this ratio, for A I'll get 909, B I'll get 779, C nil, D 260, E that is the surplus you're going to share. Therefore, we'll write plus 2000, and the next F is 52 shares. Okay, so after reducing this surplus, the remainder will be for A 24,091, B 6,721, C nil, D 2,240, E has become nil, and F has become 1,948. Okay, now next our duty is to share the unmarked between the remaining underwriters. This unmarked also will not be shared to C and E, will be shared only to A, B, D and F, not C and E, because they already have because they have already paid the gross liability. Okay, now next, this surplus, this unmarked of 20,000 is going to share between 35 to 30 to 10 to 2. So I get A for A, I'll get 9,090, 7,792, then nil, then 2,598, nil, then 520. When I reduce them from the remaining, I'll get a negative balance for B and negative balance for D. Okay, out of the 4, again another 2 has become surplus. So which means now the surplus will be added and shared between A and F alone. The rest are nil balance. So when I add, I'll get 1,071 and 358, I'll get 1,429. So this 1,429 will be shared between A and F in the gross liability ratio. What is the gross liability ratio now? 35:2. So which means 1,429 into 35/37, then 2/37. If it is 35/37, I'll get 1,352. If it is 2/37, I'll get 77. The remainder will be the net liability of the underwriters. Okay, so this is all about the underwriting by more than one underwriters. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Next, the underwriting is done by only one underwriter. Now we are going to see the partial underwriting, which means the company will issue a certain number of shares, but the underwriter will give guarantee only for the portion of it, not the whole amount of it. Okay, that situation is called partial underwriting. Okay, now see, Sky Lekha issued 30,000 equity share for ₹100 each. Only 75% of the issue was underwritten by Prakash, which means he is not giving the whole underwriting. He is not taking guarantee for 30,000 shares. He is giving guarantee only for 22,500 shares. 22,500 shares. Okay. Now, the company received application for 21,000 shares. Okay. Now, we'll see. Start with the gross liability. Out of 30,000, 75 is the gross liability. Therefore, it works out to 22,500. Now, let's marked application. What is the marked application here? Because marked application is not given in the sum, we assume the same 75% of the received application. The received application is 21,000 into 75% will give me 15,720. Okay, out of 22,500, 15,750 is gone. The remainder will be 6,750. That will be by net liability. Okay, okay, that's it. Next, we'll go to the next sum. Now, the same we'll see if it is underwritten by more than one underwriter. Which one? That is a partial underwriting. Okay, I'll read the sum now. WYE Company Limited issued 20,000 shares for ₹10 each. These shares were underwritten as follows: X 10,000 shares, Y 6,000 shares. The public applied for 16,000 shares, which include marked application as follows: X 2,400 shares, Y 600 shares. Okay. Now let us see. Determine the obligation of the underwriter. Statement showing the net liability of underwriters. First one. Then the company has issued 20,000 shares. The A given guarantee for 10,000, X given guarantee for 10,000, Y given guarantee for 6,000. Which means in total they are given only 16,000 as guarantee. Which means there's a remainder of 4,000 which is to be taken up by the company. Which means the company will take initiative to sell these shares of 4,000. Okay. Now we'll start with the gross liability of X and Y. 10,000, 6,000 minus marked application, which is given there. For X is 2,400, Y is 600. So after reducing the gross liability, that is 7,600 will be the due and Y 5,400 will be due. Now we are going to do unmarked application. How to find unmarked application? We have received 16,000 shares, out of which 2,400 and 600 for marked application of X and Y. In total, it comes out to 3,000 shares. Out of 16,000 shares, 3,000 shares is actually sold by the underwriter X and Y. The remainder will be how many shares? 13,000 shares. Out of this 13,000 shares, which means this 13,000 shares does not have any stamp. This 13,000 shares is not having any stamp with the underwriter X or Y. Therefore, it is called as unmarked. Out of this unmarked, the company will take its own liability, the 4,000, which is not given as a guarantee by the underwriter. So which means out of 13,000, 4,000 is gone. The remainder will be 9,000. Now this 9,000 will be called as a real unmarked. Okay. Now this unmarked will be shared by Y, X and Y in the gross liability ratio. This 9,000 into 10:6, which means 10 by 16, 6 by 16. And the remainder will be the net liability of underwriters. Any doubt?